Here we are in ninth grade lit, and we're on page 83 reading Beowulf. So Taylor will begin.
She turned then to the bench where her boys sat, Hethric and Rothmund, with other noble sons, all the younger together, and backward men. Beowulf the Geat sat between the brothers. The cup was carried to him, kind words spoken in welcome and wealth, of wrought gold graciously bestowed, 2 armed bangles, a mail shirt and rings, and the most resplendent
Torque.
of gold I have ever heard tell of anywhere on earth or under heaven.
Do you know what a torque is? What?
We learned about it last year. It's like a band or collar or something that goes around your neck.
Yeah, around your neck. It doesn't sound real comfortable to me. Yeah, you know, this solid gold torque I'm wearing around my neck's a little uncomfortable. It's rubbing a rash right here. I don't get it. But don't ladies wear something like that? It's like a necklace, but it's...
But usually it's like a and really heavy and not huge.
Not the size of a rope, you know, around your neck. All right. Well, where'd you learn that, Mr. Willoughby?
Yes, Mr. Willoughby's.
We're just like one, you know, we're thinking alike. All right, so go back to Taylor.
Okay. There was no cord like it since Hama snatched the Brahmin's neck and bore it away with its gems and set into his shining fork, away from Imroc's wiles and hatred, and thereby ensured his internal reward. Hygelac the Geat, grandson of Swerin, wore this neck ring on his last raid. At bay under his banner, he defended the booty treasure he had won. Fate swept him away because of his proud need to provoke a feud with the Frisians. He fell beneath his shield in the same gem-crusted kingly gear he had worn when he crossed the frothing wave bank. So the dead king fell into Frank's hand. They took his breast veil, also his neck torque, and puny warriors plundered the slain. When the carnage ended, great corpses covered the field.
Have you noticed this is the second banquet he's had with Hrothgar? One was before the battle with Grendel, and now afterwards. So that's a theme of this. You know, one of the themes of the book is having celebrations and meals, festivals. The second thing, you know, Hygelac is Beowulf's uncle. Hygelac is still alive, but what did they just tell us?
He died.
He will die. He will die in the future. So it tells us that that's coming. You know, Beowulf does become a king, and that's when he becomes the king, when his uncle Hygelac dies. Owen, would you start? Applause filled the hall.
Applause filled the hall, and these vows pronounced in the presence of the company. Take delight in this torch, dear Beowulf. Wear it for luck, and wear also this mail from our people's armory. May you prosper in it. Be acclaimed for strength, for timely guidance to these 2 boys, and your bounty will be sure. You have won renown. You are now known to all men, far and near, now and forever. Your sway is wide as the wind's home, as the sea around the cliffs. And so, my prince, I wish you a lifetime's love and blessings to enjoy this treasure. Treat my sons with tender care, be strong and kind. Here each comrade is true to the other. Loyal to the Lord, loving in spirit. The thanes have one purpose, the people are ready. Having drunk and pledged, the ranks do as I did.
What does Will Thiel ask Beowulf to do?
To treat his sons.
Take care of you.
Yes. Because what did we say yesterday? What happens when a king dies?
His sons become heirs.
The sons would be elevated to the next king, but what if somebody else becomes king?
Kill the whole family.
Right, he's going to kill the people that are his rivals. And so she is a good mother. What mother wouldn't want to protect her children? Did you see some of those pictures from Afghanistan where
Yes.
they were giving American Marines They're babies because they wanted what's best for their children. That's a natural human, God-given thing, is to want to protect your children. And so that's all she's doing. She's a good mother. Wilthea is a picture of an ideal queen. So just keep that in mind. She's a good example. So why don't we go to Neil? Would you like
All right.
to read? I think we're on 87. She moved.
Oh, she moved then to her place. Men were drinking wine at the rare feast. How could they know fate, the grim shape of things to come? The thread looming over many things as night approached, and King Hrothgar was prepared to retire his quarters. Retainers in great numbers were posted on guard, as so often in the past. Benches were pushed back, bedding gear and bolsters spread across the floor, and one man lay down to his rest. Already marked for death at their gate.
Underline that. Already marked for death. That's another example of how God ordains, yes, and ordains things. This guy, nobody knows he's going to die. He doesn't even know it, but he's been marked for death. What is this doing? What is this part of the story?
Foreshadowing and just
It's
like
more-
building up. It's such, like, they do such a good job of building it up, because they just like do tons of questions, and then they like say everything was normal and as it should be, but then
And when are things most likely going to fall apart?
when everything's nice and
That's right,
happy.
when you least expect it, yeah.
Also, another thing, it mentions this dragon, I think, like on page 85. There was no board like it since Thomas snatched the bruising snake chain. Is that some foreshadowing?
Absolutely. Where are you? Is there a line number?
85, I don't know what line, it's in between 190 and,
Oh, okay, top of the page.
or like,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, more references to hoards of treasure and so forth. Good job. Okay, we'll go back to you, Neil.
At their heads they placed their polished timber battle shields, and on the bench above them, each man's kit was kept in hand. A towering war helmet, web-mill shirt, and grape-shafted spear. It was their habit, always and everywhere, to be ready for action. At home or in the camp, in whatever case, and at whatever time they need arose, to rally round their lord. They were the right people. They went to sleep.
Okay, so you're getting this foreshadowing as to what's coming. Catherine?
They went to sleep, and one paid dearly for his night's ease, as he happened to them all. Ever since Grendel occupied the Gold Hall, committing evil until the end came, death after his turn. Then it became clear, obvious to everyone, once the fight was over, that an avenger lurked and was still alive. Grimly bidding time. Grendel's mother, monstrous hell bride, brooded on her wrongs. She had been forced down into fearful waters, the cold depths, after Cain had killed his father's son. Felled his own brother with a sword, branded an outlaw, marking by having murdered. He moved into the wilds, shunned company and joy. And from Cain there sprang misbegotten spirits. Among them Grendel, the banished and accursed, due to come to grips with, I don't know why I'm reading such a due to come to grips with that watcher inherent waiting to do battle. The monster wrenched and wrestled with him. But Beowulf was mindful of his mighty strength, the wondrous gifts God had showered on him. He relied for help on the Lord of all, on his care and favor. So he overcame the foe, brought down the hell brute, broken and bowed, outcast from all sweetness, the enemy of mankind, made for his death then. But now his mother had sailed forth on a savage journey, grief racked and ravus, desperate for revenge.
It's just a reminder here, who's Grendel's daddy, so to speak? Cain. It does make sense because, they lived at the beginning, and that would have been thousands of years ago. So, but that's just the way it's written. Yeah. All right. So we'll go to Lena.
Oh, and isn't monstrous hellbride an epithet?
Hang on. What is it?
Isn't monstrous hellbride an epithet?
Yes. Did you see that? monstrous hell bride. That's quite a description, isn't it? She's a hell bride. Grendel's mother.
Is that an
Not her, but Grendel's mother.
Oh,
You know, when we talk about the women in this book, I tend to forget that Grendel's mother is in that category, because Grendel and Grendel's mother are they're humans, remember? But they act like animals. And so she's a woman, she's a mother, but she acts like an animal. Can you always tell a bad guy when if you don't know anything about somebody in a crowd? Could you pick out the bad guy? No. In Beowulf you can. I think Grendel would stand out in a crowd, wouldn't it? Yeah, there's the bad guy. Look at him. He looks like a bad guy, doesn't he? Grendel's mother. We don't know what they look like, but the author has made them deformed. What is deformed about them?
they're like,
Just the, like the, I guess, like the lineage is deformed because.
Yeah, their character, their soul is deformed. Serial killer. Why is it so hard to find serial killer?
Because
because they're
They
deceased.
look exactly. They look like
like
everybody else. If the serial killer had a scar that ran down the middle of their face or something, oh yeah, look, they can always tell the serial killers, y'all got this scar. That would be way too easy, and it would be impossible for him to be a serial killer.
watch NCIS, I swear your detective skills will get so much.
But the fact is, you cannot tell who's the bad guys in your life. The people that you meet who are bad influences, maybe they're worse than that. You can't always tell, so you've got to have this kind of spiritual discernment. Like, this just doesn't seem right. You're probably not somebody I need to hang around with or something.
Right.
The bad guys, they're really good at what they do. But in literature, that's not the case. They don't blend in. They stand out. Blaine, are you reading now, or did you?
Yes, I
Yeah.
started reading. So I started She Came to Harris.
Yeah. Did you want to ask?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, usually, like, nowadays, like, in movies
Hang on.
and shows and books, they do try to, like, give the bad guy at least, like, one redeeming quality so that you can empathize with them, but then you still know they're absolutely terrible. But you still have this one quality about them, like, they do have a reason behind what they're doing, which I feel like Grendel's mom does have that sort of, but she's still just portrayed as, a monstrous hell bride, so.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. The fact that modern stories make us want to sympathize to some degree with the bad guy. When we read Dante's Inferno, when Dante is in hell, he often has sympathy with people. Like he feels bad about these people that are in hell, but he finally learns that if they're in hell, there's no reason to sympathize with them because these people,
You're bad.
and they chose this path. And don't sympathize. In fact, don't sympathize with evil. You can sympathize with people. You know, you can. I'm so sorry that you're like this, and I'll pray for you. But what people do should never be sympathized with. And what you do, your own sin. So that's just an interesting point. I appreciate that. You got to be real discerning when you watch these modern stories, because I kind of like the bad guy. But next year you're going to read Paradise Lost by John Milton. You know who the main character is?
The bad guy.
Satan.
Yeah.
And guess who also is a sympathetic character sometimes in it? Satan. And Milton people criticized him, I believe, for making Satan but I think there's something brilliant about that, because I believe if Satan walked in the room right now, wouldn't it be funny if the door opened and somebody just walked in? If Satan walked in right, oh, hello. Anyway, hello, Mr. Schilling, how are you? Don't tell him what we just said. But I don't think we'd notice him. I think, wow, did you see him? Man, I'd like to get to know that guy.
Dressed in all red. Did you see that flashlight?
But I don't think he would. I think he'd be dressed like the smartest movie star, coolest person ever. You think, man, I gotta get that guy's, I gotta get his thing. What do you call it?
Number?
Thank you. Not his number, but his name. Thank you. His autograph. Anyway, I just think Satan would not look like the bad guy. He would look like the good guy. All right, so why don't we go to Celeste?
You want me to read?
I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm keep avoiding that. Keep forgetting. Go ahead. Yes, I do want you to read.
She came to Herod there inside the hall. Danes lay asleep. Eris, who would soon endure a great reversal. Once Grendel's mother attacked and entered. Her onslaught was less only by as much as an Amazon warrior's strength was less than an armed man when taking up the sword. Wait, yeah, that was right. Its hammered edge and gleaming blade, slathered in blood, raises the sturdy boar ridge off the helmet. Then in the hall, hard-hung stores were grabbed from the bench, many a broad shield lifted and braced. There was little thought of helmets or woven mail when they woke in terror.
Before you read on, it just happened. While we were kind of not noticing it, here she came. She's already there. She comes in the night, just like her son, and she attacks. And she, we'll find out that she gets one guy. How many did Grendel get?
A lot.
30.
At least 30 at a trick. You know, every time he'd get 30 guys. But she only got one. Notice it says, compare strength-wise, who's stronger, Grendel or her?
Grendel.
Yeah, it says that her onslaught was less only by as much as an Amazon warrior's strength is less than an armed man's. So it's acknowledging as a female, even though she's a monster, her strength would be kind of less than her son. So you want to keep reading or pass?
Where do you want me to stop?
The hell damn, why don't you just read to the word rest there, line 1300.
The Hellden was in panic, desperate to get out. In mortal terror, the moment she was found, she had pounced and taken one of the retainers in a tight hold, then headed for the fen to Hrothgar. This man was the most beloved of the friends who trusted between the two seas. She had done away with the great warrior, ambushed him at last.
This guy never says anything, but you need to know his name. He is actually one of Hrothgar's favorite servants and lords, not lords, but retainers. And so she grabs one guy, drags him off, like her son, she eats him, chews on him.
Oh, wow.
As she should. What? She should. I'm
All right, do we have time to read?
No. Imagine you walk in on somebody and you see them really like actually eating food like I would help you, but I don't.
Yeah, we have 1 minute, so would you read just to the bottom of the page, Celeste?
Beowulf was elsewhere. Earlier, after the award of the treasure, he had been given another lodging. There was up there in Hera. She had snatched the trophy, Grendel's bloody hand. It was the first blow to his wicked bond. The bargain was hard, both parties having to pay with the lives of friends. And the old lord, the gray-haired warrior, was heartsore and weary when he heard the news. His pious glazed advisor, his dearest companion, was dead and gone.
All right, so I'll finish it here. Let me just read to the break. Beowulf was quickly, follow me here. Beowulf was quickly brought to the chamber. The winner of fights, the arch warrior, came first footing in with his fellow troops to where the king in his wisdom waited, still wondering whether Almighty God would ever turn aside of his misfortunes. So Beowulf entered with his band in attendance, and the wooden floorboards banged and rang as he advanced, hurrying to address the prince of the Ingwins, asked if he'd rested since the urgent summons had come as a surprise. Look at line 1311. Find some alliteration there.
The winner of fight, the arch warrior.
Well, keep going.
First
Oh.
footing in the
First footing.
Keep going. Every time you circle it, you're right. Keep going.
Wisdom waited.
And wisdom waited, still wondering where their Almighty God.
So wisdom waited, wondered whether, would, like 6 or 7 times it is used here. So, but here comes Beowulf again. He's still around. All right, so we'll pick this up next week when you come back. You should be working on your vocabulary.